Hi guys, hope you're fine and doing well. So today we will be discussing this problem from the LeetCode Biweekly contest, which is number of ways to select buildings. So the problem states that we are given a zero indexed binary string S. So the binary string is the one which contains zeros and ones. So the zero denotes an office and similarly the one denotes a restaurant. So as a city official, we are required to select three buildings at random. However, the condition is that no two consecutive buildings out of the selected buildings can be of the same type. So for example, I've taken an example that if we select at random any combination of the buildings that is like 110, so this is not a valid configuration that we have to select since 1 and 1 are adjacent to each other and they are same. So similarly 100 is also invalid and similarly 111 also and many more. So only the valid possible ways are if we do like 101 or 0 1 and 0. Yes, so except these two, no other valid combinations are possible. So what the question next says is that we have to return the number of valid ways. So to select three buildings. So let's see in this first example how these valid ways are calculated. So in case the uh, the buildings that we are selecting is 0 1 and 0. So what are combinations are possible? So here the indices that are marked with blue are basically indices and with green are the values. So what are values are possible? Like if we first index and then we consider third index and fifth index. Similarly, if we take like first index, fourth index and fifth index. And now if we take second index, third index and fifth index and second, four, five. So these are all the possible ways where we can make 0 1 0 possible. And if we want to make it to 1 0 1, then what all ways are possible is we can select 3, 5 and 6 and 4, 5 and 6. So except these, no other ways are possible. So the first approach that comes to our mind after seeing this is that we can apply three for loops wherein we will iterate over three indices. Namely, like if we make it I, J and K, and if we have to just run three for loops inside each other, which so that we can iterate over all the indices and we can simply count and increment the count variable wherein wherever we find that a of I is equal to 0 and a of j is equal to 1 and a of k is equal to 0 again, or the other way around, a of I is equal to 1, a of j is equal to 0 and a of k is equal to 1. So we can simply increment the count variable and simply return our answer. But the problem here is that the length of the string that we are given is 10 to the power 5. Since we know that in 1 second we are usually able to do 10 to the power 8 operations. So if we try to do it in 10 to the power 5, and that too we are applying for loops, three for loops. So it is basically 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 5, which comes out to be 10 to the power 15. So this will clearly give us time limit exceeded. So this approach is not possible. So what other approach that we can get is, So let's discuss that. Let me clear this out. And yes, so let's take this example with six, with the answer 6. Yes, 0 0 1 1 is in 0 1, 0 0 1 1 and 0 1. So the first step that we will be doing is we will keep a track of the count of zeros and ones. So here I am keeping a track of zeros and ones. So here I have found like 1 0, and till next index the count of zeros is 2, and till third index what is the count of 0 is similarly 2 2, and here it comes out to be 3 and 3. So we are calculating the count of 0 till particular index, and similarly is the case for 1 0 0, and here we have found 1, so 1 2 2 and 3. Till here it's pretty much easy. So what now we are trying to do is, since it is 0 1 and 0, so my goal is, for example, we are forget this 0. So if we are just required to find the number of ways to make it 0 or 1, so what we will do is, every time, for example, we are at this index and we want to count that up till this index, how many ways are possible to make 0 and 1. So since we have one single one here, so this one, and we will count the number of zeros behind it. So basically, which is 2. So only up till this index, which is 3, I am taking one based indexing. So till index 3, we can make 0 1 0 1, and 1 is from the one, first 0 is from the first index, and the second 0 is from the second index. So only these two ways are possible. So let's try to logically write this. So what I will do here is, if I want to make 0 and 1, and the other case I will take is 1 and 0, if I want to make it like this way. So if I am at 0, obviously 0 and 1 is not possible for me. So what I will try to make is 0 1 0. So since it is the 0 index, so this is not possible. If I move to the next index, so here the value of the bit is 0. So what is the possibility that I can make it to 0 and 1? So currently, since I am standing at 0, so 0 and 1 is not possible here. So what I will opt for is 1 and 0. So if I will see, since I am currently standing on 0, is there any what so basically what is the count of ones before this index? So if I am standing at this index, so what is the count of 1 before this index, just before this index, which is 0? So here also it is not possible to make it 1 and 0. So if I move to next index and it is 1. So if I want to make this at this index 1 and 0, this is not possible. Why? Because my current index is 1. So what I will try to make it is 0 1. So is it possible to make it 0 1? So what I will check is, if it is 1, so and we have to make it 0, 1, I will be checking for the count of zeros just before this index. So if I am currently at this index, then I will be checking for the count of zeros behind this index, which is basically 2. So how many ways are possible to make it 0, 1? Till this index is 2, right? So similarly for 1, 0, till this index is 0. Now if I move to next index, this, it is again 1. So now what are the ways possible that I can make it to 0, 1? We cannot make it 1, 0 because my current index is 1. So for this case, I will look for the zeros before this index. So these are basically two zeros which are possible. Uh, yes. So I will make it to two ways possible. But till previous index, there were also two ways possible. So and these two ways added up. So this will contribute to four ways. Basically two of the previous one and two of this current one. And if we check for 1 and 0, it will be same, which is 0. Now if I move to next index, so the next index is, I have 0. So if I try to make it 0 and 1, so it is not possible since I am standing at 0th value. So only this 1, 0 is possible. So now what I will be checking is the count of ones just before this index. So the count of ones just before its index is 2. So I will have two ways possible plus the previous ways that are possible, which were already 0. So I have written 2 here. And in this case, I will just till this index, what are the ways possible for 0 and 1? I will just write 4, which is the previous ones. No new way has been added here. And if I am at the last index, what I will do is, it is 1. So only 0 and 1 is possible, 1 and 0 is not possible. So I will be looking for zeros just before this index, which is 3. So the number of ways that are possible here is, for 0 and 1 is 3, plus the previous way is possible, which is 4. So it comes out to be 7. So the 7 ways are possible here. And for 1 and 0, it, no new ways added. So previous answer will just be carried forward here. So why did we do this? Because for 0, 1, 0, when we had to just make this 0 and 1, we just looked for this part. So if we want to now look for 0, 1 and 0, we just need to look for this part. So we have already calculated this part here. So it is now easy for us. And similar is the case for 1, 0 and 1. So here also we have this value 1 and 0. So we will just be standing at particular index. If it is 0, then we will be looking for 0 and 1, the count of zeros and ones possible before that index. And if we are currently standing at value 1, then we will be looking for 1 and 0 values just before that index possible. So let's write this 0, 1, 0 and 1, 0, 1. So if we start with the 0 index, so it is obviously not possible to choose 3 bits. So Similarly, the answer will be 0, and similar is the case for this one. And if we are on the second index, then also it is not possible to select three buildings. But here we have to be cautious when we arrive at third index. So here it is possible that we can select three buildings, but we need to check that are they a valid configuration. So let's check this. So currently when we are at the third index, we are standing at this value 1. So since we are at value 1, so this will be the case. So since we are at value 1, so we will be looking for this part, 1 and 0. So 1 and 0 count just before this index, which is this value 1 and 0. So it is currently 0. So no way is possible. Similar is the case for the above 0, 1 and 0 case. Now if we are standing at this index, which is fourth index, now again we are trying to make it to 1, 0, 1. So is it possible? So let's look. We will again be looking for 1 and 0 just before this index, which is this 1 and 0. It is again 0. So again it is not possible. So let's move to the next index, which is 0. So now currently when we are standing at this index 0, so we will be going to this case. We will be looking for 0 and 1. So let's see, is 0 and 1 available just for the previous index? And yes, we see that just before this index, the value is 4. So that does mean that 4 combinations are available. Sorry, 4 ways are available wherein we can make it to 0, 1 and 0 up till this particular index, which is fifth index. And similarly, if we look for 1, 0 and 1, so it is not possible since we are standing at that index where the value is 0. And if we move to the last index, which is 1, so in this case, we will be moving to 1, 0, 1, and we will be looking for 1 and 0. So if we look for 1 and 0 just before the last index, which is this one, so the total number of ways that we can make it to 1 and 0 is 2. So here the answer will be 2, and it will be 4 because it is just carried over here. So no new way is added to make 0, 1 and 0. So if we carefully examine this, so our answer will just be the summation of these two, which is equal to 6. And this is our answer. So this is how we can build the logic and approach towards the answer. So now let's talk about the time complexity of this problem. So talking about time complexity, so if we observe that there are only three for loops and that too these are not nested, these are independent ones, so the time complexity is O of n. So now let's see how we can code this problem. Let me minimize this part of, yes. Now let me explain what I did in the code. Yes. So this part of the code represents that I have just done for simplicity. So to convert the string into an integer array, where if the character is 0, so I have put 0, and if character is 1, I have put 1 in the integer array. And this part of the 0 and 1 that I have created as an array, this part of the code is similar to this section where I have kept the count of all zeros and ones. And in this part of the code where I have initialized two arrays as 0, 1 and 1, 0. So it is similar to this part of the problem where I have kept count of the number of ways I can make 0, 1 and 1, 0. So this part of the code represents the set of operations that we did to make 0, 1, 0 and 1, 0, 1. So the implementation is like a bit lengthy, but the understanding is really easy to this problem. So let's run this solution and it is being accepted. So that is it from my side. Hope you understood the solution. And if you appreciate my work, you can give a thumbs up to this video and consider subscribing to this channel so that you don't miss any of the upcoming updates. And in case you have any doubts or any queries regarding the code or the problem or concepts, so you can surely comment down below and I will be answering them. So thank you. Let's meet in the next video.